The Hamas-run Gaza Media Office says at least 300 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces in a series of attacks in the past 48 hours. The office says dozens of those victims were killed on their way to collect aid. Now Hamas is expected to respond to a proposal for a 60-day ceasefire with Israel that includes ending the war. ABC's Patrick Reevell joins me from London. Patrick, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is now denying reports that contractors are using live ammo and stun grenades on people near these aid sites. What more can you tell us about that?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this controversial Israeli and US-backed private organization that runs these aid distribution points inside Gaza, is pushing back on reports from the Associated Press and Israel's Channel 12, who both have spoken to former contractors who were guarding those sites. And these contractors have alleged that routinely their colleagues were using live ammunition and stun grenades against crowds of starving and hungry Palestinians as they tried to collect food at these distribution points. And really, this is piling on the outcry around these GHF sites, which has been growing because for weeks now we've been seeing accusations and reports of large numbers of Palestinian civilians being killed as they are near or en route to these sites to collect food. And these two of these former contractors spoke to the Associated Press. They spoke anonymously, and they said that their colleagues were often lobbing dozens of stun grenades into crowds. They said one of them said that they were using live ammunition, using them as warning shots, but also firing sometimes directly into the crowds. And we have already seen really hundreds of people killed near or trying to approach these sites, according to Gaza's health ministry. As you said, the GHF has denied this. They say that the Associated Press's report is categorically false, and they say that they're pursuing legal action against the AP. But, you know, it's not just these reports. We've seen also the UN and also most major international charities criticizing the GHF, saying that these sites have basically become death traps for Palestinian civilians. There are only 4 of these sites for 2 million people who are facing a catastrophic situation with hunger. And they had warned from the beginning that this attempt to use these sites that are run and guarded by US contractors as well, and that are closely involved with the Israeli military, that these sites would become extremely dangerous. And now that you have a situation where Palestinian civilians are not only facing a catastrophic humanitarian situation and starving, but now are being killed in large numbers when they try just to go and get food, Diane.
Patrick, in terms of this ceasefire deal, what still needs to be worked out for both sides to agree?
Yeah, Diane, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is due to be at the White House on Monday, and President Trump has been very bullish yesterday about the possibility of a ceasefire, saying that he believes Netanyahu wants to have one, and saying that there could even be a deal as early as next week. And the deal, as we understand it, is the one that's been negotiated for months, which would see basically a 60-day ceasefire in exchange for Hamas releasing some of the hostages that it still currently holds, and that then more hostages would be released once there was a permanent end to the war. But the sticking point has always been that Hamas has insisted on a permanent end to the war, while Netanyahu has said that he will not allow Hamas to remain in control in Gaza at the end of the war. It still seems very difficult to overcome that sticking point, but there have been hints, particularly in Israeli media, that perhaps Benjamin Netanyahu is finally starting to shift on that issue of a permanent end to the war, and perhaps is more open to finally ending the war in Gaza as a result of his victory in the conflict with Iran. But for now, we have to wait and see. This is going to be a very potentially important meeting on Monday between President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, Diane.
Patrick Reevell, thank you.